All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Equation of Excellence. Prepare to meet the man who can diagnose your health issues, prescribe you the perfect essential oil blend in the same breath. Dr. Anish Nanda is not your average doctor. He's a medical maverick who traded his stethoscope for a collection of essential oil bottles with a brain that's part neurologist, part aromatherapist, part business guru. Dr. Nanda is here to show us that sweet smell of success isn't just a metaphor, it's his day job at GuruNanda. Dr. Anish Nanda, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Rabbi. Thank you so much for having me on this. I'm very, very excited.
Of course, and for the people watching at home, we post everything. So if you're listening, I am actually holding. I have finally come to the dark side of the water flosser. You guys make an incredible water flosser, so I finally picked one up. Very excited to try that out. I just went to the dentist, and they told me I need to floss more. So hopefully this will help expedite that habit. But yeah, really excited to talk to you. I guess first, let's get into it. How did you go from like medical school to Guru Nanda? Like that's a quasi big jump from doing because I have so my VA does all the notes and we have you sit over a multitude of functions at the company. You're the e-commerce national sales manager, you run all the influencers, you help out with all the customer success and service, and then you also help formulate all the essential oils and the quality controls. Those
Correct.
are a lot of hats.
Yes, absolutely. So let me start from the very, very beginning, right? So, um, growing up, our founder, who is the CEO and also my father, he goes by multiple nicknames, Guru, Dr. Fresh, as many people know him, but his name is Puneet Nanda. So, obviously, he's been a great person where I was able to learn a lot of business. In fact, growing up, I have a younger sister, and he would talk to her about business and less likely to me because he's like, "Don't get into business. It's crazy. 24/7, right? You have the entrepreneur hat all the time, and we came from a very we didn't have much when we came to the United
Yeah.
States, right? So pretty much building everything from ground up. He was putting in 20 hours a day, right? We live in a two-bedroom apartment in Cerritos, where the second bedroom was his office, and then it was four of us in a single bedroom. So, growing up, he never wanted me to get into business. And so that's where, I actually, my dream was to be a professional tennis player. So I played
Okay.
tennis all my life. And I went to, Nick Bollettieri IMG Academy in Florida.
Yeah.
And, my roommate
That's
at,
the Agassi one, right?
yes,
That
absolutely.
the Andre documentary
Andre
is
Agassi, Pete
fantastic. It's a
Sampras,
Pete Sam,
Maria
fantastic. That's
Sharapova.
super prestigious. I mean, it's
Yes,
top tier. It's as good as you get.
absolutely. And during that time, my roommate was Nick Kei Nishikori. He was number two in the world at one point. So this was my the future, but obviously, you have to have a backup, right? And being an athlete, and you have to realize whether you're good enough to be a top
Yeah.
50 player. If you're not top 50 in the world, how are you going to support your future?
Yes.
I obviously love biology and chemistry, right? I got more and more into it when I got into college. I went to University of Redlands,
Yep.
so down the road, and I work closely with Loma Linda Medical Center.
Yep.
um, and so and that just kind of, once I got into college, I was on the tennis team, and I was still pursuing biology and chemistry and so on, and so I took the medical route, did my 4 years of medicine, right, got my MD, and before entering into residency, I had a little bit of time. I wanted to be a general surgeon, or actually a trauma surgeon.
Oh my
um,
gosh.
and the reason for that, after like going through medical school and going through all the clinical rotations, you realize that in medicine, there's two ways, really, to me, in my opinion, right, really make a difference. One is prevention, right?
Yep.
So preventing something from happening. The second is actually curing, right? And so I think internal medicine or family medicine, they're very important roles in medicine, but that was
Yes.
not to my liking, because that's just more symptom control, and hopefully
Completely agree.
convince your patient to make these lifestyle changes so that it has a long-term effect. But a lot of you don't see that great of a success rate sometimes. And so that's why I wanted to get into trauma surgery, because you see the patient right there and then you can have an immediate
Yes.
change in their life, right? It kind of depends on you. And given my tennis background, I was able to handle pressure
You
at a
like the pressure.
I did, right?
Yeah.
And then once I finished medical school. I was doing research at UCLA, and I had an opportunity where I had some time. I didn't get into trauma surgery as my first go, and so I had some time, and I didn't want to do like internal medicine, like I told you the reasons why.
Yes.
And my dad, who is the CEO currently of GuruNanda, he's like, just check out what I do. You never know. I know this was not something I told you to do when you're growing up, but maybe things might change, and and you might like it. And once, I'm sure you can understand, like when you're an athlete, you learn how to work hard, right? The
Yes.
sacrifices it takes. You
Yes.
understand what it requires to be successful, right? And
Yeah.
I
And
got
very goal specific. Where you
correct.
like the goals are very defined. I used to run, so I can relate it to D1 running, and it's really fascinating to hear this because I didn't have the ability. I was really lost when I quit running because it was so easy
Correct.
when you're in your sport. Like all you do is you eat and kill, right? It's like, hey, I got to win this match. Like all I'm doing is training for this match, and it was really easy, and I
Absolutely.
didn't know how to set up my life.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so you're an athlete yourself, right? So you understand what it takes, right? And so, using those skills, I was able to, I was like, okay, I'll come join and see what the business about. I have a few weeks to, to explore. And what I did when I first joined was go through different departments, kind of understand the entire business, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something different than what he was doing, right? Obviously he's a big shadow, right? He's obviously proved himself, right? He's a serial entrepreneur, so this is his second successful business, right? The first
Yeah.
was Dr. Fresh. And Guru Nanda, what it is, it's actually, we started as an essential oil company,
Yeah.
but slowly transformed into an oral care company
Yep.
in 2019. But what we did differently was kind of, uh, there's a whole. I mean, I can go on and on, but just to make it short a little bit, this is kind of this time around what we did different from Dr. Fresh was, we were trying to go ahead and combine the principles from uh, Eastern world, right? So
I
Southeast
love
Asia,
it.
and
Yep.
combining with Western technology and Western medicine, right? And kind of fuse a product that really is natural, clean ingredients, and would benefit, right? Actually see some benefits. Um, and so just going back to my story, I'm sorry I'm jumping, but
No, I love it.
just going back to my story, so I started going through different departments, and I wanted to do something that was different from him, right? Because obviously just filling his shoes is a big deal. And
A lot.
and when you've seen success in tennis and medicine, you're your own person, right? And you want to kind of prove, well, not to him but just to yourself as well, that this is something that I want to do. And at the time, we didn't I joined in, this is now around 2020, end of 2022.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, the sector I want to manage, which was not managed very well during the time, was the e-commerce side, right?
Yeah.
And so I started getting into managing Amazon, right? So that was the first big platform.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was able to actually open up some sales accounts, retail sales accounts.
Yeah.
One of my accounts that I handle currently, that pretty much started from the beginning, was grocery outlet,
Yep.
Burlington, right, Dollar Tree, right. And so I was able to, so that was something that I enjoyed, because you form a personal relationship with the buyer,
Absolutely.
right? And you get to know them and they understand your business model. Yeah, but we already had a lot of salespeople. But I was like, you know what? I need to have something of my own in which I can kind of grow from where it was. I think we were not nowhere significant to where we are.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5% of our total sales was coming from the e-com side.
Yeah.
And so I started learning about e-commerce. I first got into Amazon, right? Uh, right, and really try to learn about what will it take to be successful on Amazon, right? So
Yeah.
understanding about the algorithm, right, understanding about ads management, how to bid, how to be on the top of search pages,
Yeah.
right, listing optimizations, all of these, uh, these clinical stuff that are required to be successful. And that took about 4 to 6 months. And when what excited me and when I made the transition to be like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and forget, um, or try to focus more on the family business, was when I made the transition. Uh, when I saw an increase when I actually got my first PO,
Yeah.
which was my first purchase order of, it was $100,000, right? First purchase
Yeah.
I did by myself, and it just got me excited. It's like, whoa, this is, I didn't know anything about business, right? I mean, I'm still learning, right? It was my mind was all about medicine, right? I've been
Yes.
studying medicine for 12 years, right? So everything about I was just wired for medicine.
Yes.
And when I got my first PO by myself, I got no help from, you know, the CEO or anyone else in the company, just talking to the buyer. I was calling the buyer like 50 times, my executive assistant John Wee's here and she can relate. Like if I need things done, right, you have to be persistent, right?
Yes.
And so when I got my first PO, it just gave me that level of success and gratitude. And I was like, maybe, this is something that I can do and I can build myself doing this, right? So that's the retail side. And then on the e-com side, right, I started understanding everything, right? And so my Amazon business, right, where it went from 2-3%, it started getting to being 10% of sales, right? Where we're doing like, you know, I won't give
Good
you the,
numbers.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
better, right? And at the same time, I started focusing on our own website, right, GuruNanda.com,
Yeah.
growing that, the D2C side of the business. And then what kind of really exploded for us was, in 2023, I think this was around, this has now been, so I've been in the company for about a year, right? So this is now we're looking around like August, September of 2023, right? And this is where things kind of really transformed for us, where the Amazon business started growing quite significantly, right?
Yes.
We were getting more and more visibility, top of search. We were competing against the big brands of, you can think of Procter and Gamble's brands, right?
Yes.
Church and Dwight, right?
Yep.
GSKs, right? So we're competing against these and outbidding them and winning them just through ad. But how are we going to go ahead and take it to the next level, right? Organically. And
Yes.
this is where kind of influencer marketing came into our,
Yeah.
right. And this is where, the growth of TikTok took over,
Yes.
right? And once TikTok Shop launched, right, we were actually one of the first stores on TikTok Shop, right? And we found success right away, right? A lot
Oh
of
yeah.
videos went viral. The founder, right, his videos went viral. We had
Yes.
great affiliates, and just learning from then, it just resulted in virality. And what happened during that time was you see success on TikTok Shop, but that also translated to our website, right? Our
Yes.
B2C website, as well as right on Amazon
Of
and other
course.
e-commerce platforms. And so when you see that, right, now our business, right, from being, I'd say 5% of the total sales of the company is now becoming 40-50%,
It's
right?
real.
So this is quite significant. And and this is what really excited us, right? And this is what made us kind of transition more into more influencer marketing, right? And then I'm still managing all e-commerce platforms, right? We Amazon, our D2C website,
Yep.
Walmart, we got TikTok Shop,
Yep.
right? And now we're expanding everywhere. We're not only in US, we're in Canada, right? We're in UK. We're
Oh, I didn't know you guys jumped the pond. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
That's
So
fantastic.
on Amazon, in Canada we're on Amazon, and we're going to be in Walmart in February. um,
Wow.
in UK we're on TikTok and on Amazon. Our next launches are going to be in UAE and India,
Love
right?
it.
And then we're trying Mexico and France after that. So
Oh, I love that.
lot of areas of us exploring, and this is all ecom exploring, right? So this is we're
Yes.
expanding in ecom, and then hopefully if we see success we'll get some retail out there as well.
Man, that's just an incredible story. Those wins matter so much
Oh
because
yeah.
at the beginning you're just screaming into the ether, and and then finally you get that one win. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
I can do this. This is incredible. And it's really interesting that you started Amazon first because I think Amazon's kind of like the New York City of D2C. Like if you can make it on Amazon, baby, you can make it anywhere. Like
right.
Amazon is a meat grinder. There's just so many things going on there, and they're so judicious, man. You go out of stock, they'll yell at you. You get some weird review, they could take your stuff down. It's a very fragile platform sometimes, but the scale is incredible. And I love that you're kind of pushing everybody to your own stuff. But yeah, that's how I found about you. Found out about you guys was not only through a mutual friend, John Snow, but the TikTok shops. I mean, it was you
Yeah,
guys were everywhere. I mean,
right.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you still are, but you were in the top five grossing TikTok shops forever, pretty much. You're like a Whitney Houston single. I mean, you didn't fall off the charts.
Yeah,
It was so impressive. And um, that's so awesome that you just found kind of your niche and you were able to own it. And I totally understand what you're saying, where when you have these big shoes to fill, you kind of want to leave the empire better than you found it. You know what I mean? You're like, man, I need to
yeah.
like Guru Nanda is incredible, but I need to put my stamp. Like I want to make my way and stuff like that. And you absolutely have. What were kind of the unlocks for you? Was it just once you found TikTok shops, you're just like, man, I call it almost like channel product fit, where you
Yeah,
find a channel that just really resonates with your product, and then from there it just goes gangbusters.
yeah. you know yeah, I would say that, I'd agree with you. I would say that, TikTok really put us on the map, right? So what are we known for, right? What is GuruNanda known for, right? It's oral care products, but what specifically? It's oil pulling,
Oh,
right?
pulling, yeah, that's what I knew you guys for.
And what is oil pulling, right? It's a pretty much a Ayurvedic practice that's being done, 5,000 plus year, but it's a pre-rinse mouthwash, right? So you do it actually before you brush your teeth, and you swish in your mouth with the hopes that it helps kind of loosen up the biofilms that are on your teeth, right? So what
Yeah,
is biofilm? Is just layer of bacteria that bind to your teeth. And the action of swishing kind of, and the texture of oil kind of loosens up these biofilms, and then you brush your teeth and you scrape it off, right? Um, so before TikTok, how, if you're in a room of 10 people, how many people really knew about oil pulling? I would say maybe one, you're right,
yeah,
two, right? And then after the explosion and the boom in TikTok, what we saw, right, we realized that this number, so many more people started talking about oil pulling,
yeah,
right, and the benefits of oil pulling. And there, oil pulling has existed, but no one actually really did the research in it, right? No one really talked
yeah,
about the benefits of it. And so when TikTok came in, it's a discovery platform, right? It's not right. It helps you discover new products, new brands, right? Small businesses. And so thankfully and with God's grace, right, we were able to be one of the first ones where we just exploded. And I would
exploding.
say, you know, even now, I would say maybe even a room of 10 people, maybe four or five would know about oil plant. I wouldn't say all 10, right? So
Yeah,
we're just not even, we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more potential. And, and once we did see the success, what was the first thing we started doing is making sure that, these products actually have a benefit. And so we
yeah,
got clinical studies behind these products, right? And so,
Exactly.
right, so these are cosmetic products right now, right? So they're not drug products, but we have clinical studies based on, our ingredients and how to use it, and and we can say confidently that, hey, the oil pulling, if you continue using it, right, it's not going to be an overnight sensation.
Of course.
If anything is, please let me know, let me get on
We
that, right?
have an influencer deal for you.
Right, but if you, if you, like, the analogy I like to use is, taking care of your body, right? If you want to get fit, you have to go work out, right?
Correct.
Same way, if you want to take care of your mouth, right, you have to go ahead and do certain things.
Yes.
Brushing, flossing is just not enough, right? You
Yeah.
still gotta oil pull, you gotta water floss, you gotta use a good quality mouth rinse, right? And so, um, we were able to go and do some clinical studies on our product, right, that kind of showed significant benefits of, whitening your teeth over time, right,
Yeah.
kind of getting rid of bad breath. So people who wake up in the morning with bad breath
Yes.
or throughout the day, kind of combats that, as well as, like, your gum hygiene, just kind of maintaining and, and kind of promoting that happy gums kind of situation.
Yeah.
Right, so TikTok, kind of just going back to your question, TikTok really put us on the map, and forever we're grateful, right, for
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
And we were able to take advantage of it, right, and
Yeah.
that allow our business to grow, not only on the e-com side but also on the retail side.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, retail is the show too. It's so much better to be able to send like your big 100K PO. The margins are better because you can
Yeah,
ship freight versus having to get paper cut. I mean, you guys have really good margins because you're not shipping big heavy things, but
right.
ultimately that is the show. And then you get kind of the triple-headed monster of D2C, Amazon, and retail, and that's really where the behemoths live because there's a joke where D2C isn't a business, it's a channel, and
Yeah,
you eventually, if you, I mean, depending on what the company's goals are, but eventually, like if you want to build a really big, proper business like you're building, you need to expand into retail and into Amazon, the Walmart.coms of the world, and things like that.
absolutely.
And that what I'm so fascinated about is a lot of times when you go into D2C, and again, for people that are just listening, I'm holding up the GuruNanda flosser, and the branding's exquisite. A lot of times D2C brands have trouble, or not trouble per se, but cost headwinds because the branding wasn't built to be on shelf. This looks gorgeous. This holds its own on a shelf versus I had a while back a guy on the podcast and they did basically almost like men's makeup kind of thing, like or not men's makeup, but like men's facial care if they could get a pimple and stuff like that. But it was kind of branded as
Yep.
men's stuff, so you don't feel, for guys that don't want to be girly or whatever, you can feel okay but still take care of your face. And they had to do a whole rebrand because the packaging was gorgeous, but it was like Apple-esque
Correct.
where it just doesn't work in retail. Like in retail, you need the product, you need the kind of jobs to be done or highlighting, you need it to be able to stand out on a shelf. And was this just kind of this isn't where the branding started though, right? This was a work in progress up to this point, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
this is stunning. This is just super well done, and a lot of D2C brands, again, rightfully so, because they want to say like, "Hey, I want to make this incredible unboxing experience. I want this sleek, sexy packaging, which is awesome." But not awesome if you're trying to compete with, like you're saying, like a Colgate or something next to you, where it's like, no, I need to stand out, and you need to be able to like, oh, that's GuruNanda. I'm going to get that because I have all the brand awareness that you've built on your social channels and stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was really impressive what you guys have done on the retail side because this also would land very well in D2C. But
absolutely.
a lot of times people design for D2C and not retail, and that can be a challenge when you try and penetrate retail.
Uh, and and just going back, like, when we started, right, we were majority retail, right? So
Yeah. Oh, so we're thinking retail first already. Okay, that makes a
we
ton
were
of sense now.
retail
Yeah,
first,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And then we got into, given how, like, the AI boom is going, right, and
Yeah.
who knows what the future holds, but I believe a lot of it's going to be .com, right? It's
Yep.
just Amazon's just kind of changed the world, especially after COVID, right,
Yep.
on what's happening. So we were already in retail, right? You would go to Walmart and you would see a lot of
That's
our
it.
products in Walmart,
Yeah, that tracks now. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But then we wanted to kind of get into e-com, and that's how we started with Amazon, then our D2C with the
And
Walmart.com.
Shopify's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. What are
And
you excited about? What is really is the essential oil still a significant part of the business, or has that kind of been not spun down, but become more of like a ancillary kind of complementary product? Because you guys are really, I mean, I would say oil pulling is what you're known for, but now you're bridging into this broader category, which is
right.
awesome in terms of oral care.
Yeah. So, so essentials is still, it's a very minimal part of our company,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
But if you look at our products, we use essential oils in a lot of our products, right? We don't sell essential oils as much individually, like frankincense oil or
Sure.
lavender, but
Peppermint, what have you.
peppermint, exactly, right? But we use essential oils in our products because they're natural
Oh,
products, right?
yes, that tracks now.
Correct, right? And we believe in the concept of farm to bottle. So
Yep.
whatever is kind of like the crops of these oils are grown, we really don't go ahead, nothing's added, nothing's removed. That's our motto, right? So it literally is pretty much from farm to bottle. So the oil that's coming out of the crop, it's going straight into the bottle,
I love that.
unfiltered, unaltered, right? Um,
That's amazing.
right. And you kind of asked the question, like, what like why am I doing this, right? And if you kind of go back to my medical story, right, there's two aspects of medicine that I love, right? Prevention or right away cure,
Triage, essentially.
right? And
Yeah.
so what are we doing with Guru Nanda that really attracted me, and possibly the reason I stuck around, right? Obviously it's my company, right? My
Yeah.
father,
Yeah.
so there's a responsibility there, but um it we because we're combining these Ayurvedic principles from Southeast Asia, right, that really focuses on holistic wellness
Yes.
and holistic medicine, and
Yes.
kind of combining it with clinical knowledge in the Western world, right? We're creating products that are for prevention, right?
Yes.
Oil pulling, right? It's not a cure, right? If someone already has
Yes.
severe gingivitis, you're not.
You
you
gotta go
require
to the dentist.
prevention. You got to go to a dentist, right?
Yes.
But the idea is prevention, right?
I love that.
Right, and so if you can get to a point, if we can get people in a habit of managing and taking care of their mouth, right? Because if you look at your mouth, right, the esophagus connected to your stomach, which is then connected to the GI,
100%.
and
100%.
right, and your GI tract, right, has its own nervous system, right? You have your brain and your spinal cord,
But
which is your central nervous system, but then your GI
yes.
tract has its own nervous system, right?
Yes. Exactly right.
And so,
I
yeah, go ahead. So if
no,
this is wrong, right, then there's a potential that your gut is going to be messed up, and then
completely.
right, and then that messes up a lot of other things. So so that also is what attracted me of what we're doing, right? We're preventing things, and if you go on our website or on Amazon, we've got over like 35-40,000 reviews, right, on our product,
Yes.
and I think like a 4.7, 4.6 rating. And
Yeah.
when you read those comments, you see, wow, you've actually made my a difference in my oral health,
Yeah.
right? That just makes us happy, right? That's a proud moment for us, that hey, we're saving, or we're helping one smile or one mouth at a time, right? And we love that.
Oh, I love that. I mean, so I got really deep into like the functional medicine world, which is kind of like adjacent to Ayurvedic stuff and all that stuff. And I think that Western medicine's great for triage. You break a leg,
Yeah.
whatever, like Western medicine does great at triage. It does health horribly. Like
Right.
it just it's not made for health, and this is why I love that. Where um, gut health is a really big thing, man, and
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It starts in your mouth, and the other cool thing is, when your teeth look better, you smile more, you're more confident. Like so, there's all these different vectors of improvement for people's lives in terms of not only the preventative side of it, but you're legitimately making people's lives better. And I think that that has to resonate with you as a MD, because that's the kind of, you know, I mean, obviously there's some people that just become doctors because they want to be a doctor, or their parents like, I needed to be a doctor. But I think the majority of people that are called to medicine, you know, like you said, you either want to do triage or preventative stuff. Like the PCP stuff is cool, it's
Yeah.
great. You know, there's a time and place for it, but I totally agree with what you're saying. And there's that, I don't know, that impact where I mean, run a D2C, just run a business is really hard. And so being able to like be able to see the gratitude when you can see like, oh, I'm smiling more, my wife doesn't hate me because my breath doesn't smell anymore, stuff like that, like that helps the bad days. You know what I mean? Because there's always something when you're running the business, and then you realize, oh man, this is worth it. And we're making a difference here. So yeah, I love that, man. That's an awesome. So in terms of how do you keep the context switching at a minimum? Because like retail is so different. Like you said, retail is almost like raising money. Like you have to get, because once you get in, then it's easy. But
Right.
getting into that first thing, but once you're in the Walmart or whatever, then Target will call you, then Whole Foods will call you. But getting into that versus like D2C, you're like, man, these are little baby hacks. I can't just email this person 100 times to buy this thing. Like, how do you balance that kind of strategic brain? Because they're two, candidly, just two totally different functions. Like one's kind of like a bulldog, and the other is like, I need to, you know, seduce you and dance you to buy my product. It's just a totally different headspace. How do you balance jumping back and forth?
Um, Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, there are completely different strategies that you require, right? Initially, right on the e-com side, it may require a lot of ad driven, right?
Yep.
Just to get brand awareness, right?
Yep.
If you're on that platform, right? For example, as you know, our connection, Jonathan Snow, right? We've
Yeah.
connected with him to help us on Meta and Google,
Yeah.
right? And so we're not very big on Meta and Google, right?
Yeah.
And so how we've found some success recently, and that's kind of ad driven, right? And,
Yep.
and fortunately, we have so much content from TikTok,
Yeah. It's
right?
huge.
And so so that helps, so that we can have good content and promote those content, and then hopefully brings visibility and eyes, right? We just need eyeballs. Whereas in retail side, right, we kind of focus on our motto is bridging the gap, right?
Yep.
And what I mean by that, that means that we're producing very high quality products. The water flosser you have,
Yep.
it is equivalent, or if not equivalent, better than some of the big brands out there,
Yeah, it's the Ferrari, baby.
right? And it'll do a great job cleaning. And we've added some additional features, right? A UV light that helps with
Yeah.
sanitization, so
Yeah.
right. But the idea is, giving you guys the highest quality products, right, to our customers, right, at very affordable prices, right.
Yes.
The way my our CEO and COO have thought about it, right, is we want to give back to the people,
I
right.
love that.
And so when we're talking to these buyers and kind of sharing this vision, they understand it, right. Obviously they have their own targets that they need to hit in order to be successful. But when we shared this vision of bridging the gap, and our three founding principles are quality. The second founding principle is good karma. So if you
I
do
love
good,
that.
you get good,
I'm
right.
I'm a very big karma guy.
And then third thing is authenticity, right. So we want to
Yes.
stick to who we are, right. We're not trying
Yeah.
to be, if we're GuruNanda, we're not trying to be a Colgate, right.
Yeah.
That's just too different, right. So
Yes.
so based on these three founding principles, and bridging the gap, I think we're able to relay a good message to these retailers, and they give us a chance, and then we really go after it with them through whether it's influencer marketing, or just promoting it, or doing some
Yeah.
sort of campaigns with them.
I love that. How do you guys approach email and SMS? Is that a big part of the business, or do you usually get a lot of first touch conversions?
No, I think we had lost that art for a
Yeah.
bit. Uh,
Okay.
I would say in the last 6 months, right, we're really focusing on gathering our audience, getting more
Love
subscribers,
that.
email and
Yes.
SMS. It's definitely a low hanging fruit, which
Yeah.
I think we're definitely taking more and more advantage of.
Yeah, I love that. How do you guys navigate? Because everybody has I don't want to say negative, but everybody says low AOV businesses are challenging. How
Yeah.
do you navigate kind of those economics? Because it is challenging. I mean, the TikTok shops is great because that's pretty much organic into purchases. So you're really not paying for that distribution. But how do you navigate kind of those economics? Are you doing upsells, getting complementary products to make sure that these people have a total kind of oral care routine, or like how do you guys approach that?
The struggle is real, right?
Hmm.
Lower AOV products, right? You only have so much dollar to spend to acquire a customer,
Exactly. Yes.
right? So we can't always depend on organic,
Yep.
right? You have to be able, because you're not going to reach everyone. I just got to learn that the way these platforms, these social media platform works is they allocate a certain percentage of organic traffic, then a certain percentage goes to
Yep.
ad driven, a
Yep.
certain percentage goes to, if someone has a shop or some sort of other background, right?
Yep.
So it's not like, even if I was, say, the number one brand, right, I won't be able to reach everyone, right,
Correct.
just because there's only a certain amount of,
Of
or,
inventory.
correct, right, or
Yep.
no, just how many people they'll allow us to reach within that platform, right?
Yep.
Um, and so to deal with these lower AOV, what we have done is come up with different bundles, right?
I
Combining
love
products
that.
together
Yeah.
that actually work together, like they're
Yep.
synergetic to helping each other. So one of our, bundles that is doing quite amazing is called the Total Smile Makeover Kit,
Oh,
right?
that's a great name.
It's a
I
great
love
name,
that.
right?
Great name.
But what is it? It has oil pulling, right? It's got um, our alcohol and fluoride free mouthwash. It's our whitening mouthwash, right?
Yes.
It's got our whitening strips, and then we're known for our famous butter on gums. If you haven't tried these toothbrushes, they literally feel like butter on your teeth,
Oh my God.
right?
Another great name, by the way.
Right,
It's
butter on.
fantastic name.
And then we've given a free product of travel sachets. These are oil pulling sachets, so even if you're on the road or traveling,
That's
you have,
brilliant.
right. And so we've kind of combined products that complement each other,
Yep.
right? We've got the Total Smile Makeover Kit. We actually have a gum hygiene makeover kit,
Oh, I love it.
and then we've got the big boss called the Guru Regiment, right, which kind of has everything from oil pulling to water flosser to sonic toothbrush, right,
Yeah.
to everything that you
That's
require,
brilliant.
right? And so we're able to kind of increase the AOV there, and which
Yeah.
gives us, I guess, fire to kind of spend money, acquire customers, and so on. But
No, I love that.
it's definitely a challenge. It's not
It's,
been an easy road. That is something that we do struggle with, but we're
yeah.
in some ways.
Are you guys exploring subscriptions? How are you approaching subscriptions? Because one of the things I love about your product is I love products that are built on the back of routines.
Yeah,
Because one, they're consumable, but two, you don't have to change anybody's life. You just replace it with a better product. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the most brilliant things because a lot of times, um, marketing psychology. And so just being able to get into somebody's routine and for the most part, there's just no reason to not take care of your teeth. I mean, it's like cavities suck, man. Root
yeah,
canals suck. Like
yeah,
oh, it
yeah.
sucks. And being preventative is well worth the time than having to go to the dentist and get all your teeth massacred. And I'd much rather do oil pulling or butter brush my teeth than have to go and get cavities drilled out of my teeth.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is something that John and Steve from Fermat. This is what
Yep.
we're working on, right? Is actually forming these subscription. We're using an app called Recharge. I don't know
Yeah.
if you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Of course. Yep.
and that's going to kind of help us get more subscribers on our D2C, right? So that's also a low hanging fruit, but that's
Yeah.
number one focus for this year.
Dude,
is,
I love it.
you
That's
know,
incredible.
yeah,
I also love the, like you said, synergistic kind of complementary nature of your whole product line, because if you get somebody in, say, for the oil pulling, which is kind of the premier product that you're known for,
right,
and then, okay, cool, why don't you try the butter brush? Why don't you try the water pick? Why don't you? And that is just so, like you said, low hanging fruit in terms of retention marketing with email and SMS, where they're already in your ecosystem, and people aren't annoyed by that stuff. It's like, oh
right,
yeah, I should switch this. Oh yeah, I already do this, and now I have the whole spread. Or even better, like you said, oh, I can just buy the whole bundle now.
right.
And so I think you guys are trotting down all the right roads. I love that. Um,
Thank you.
a couple more questions. One, were you guys freaked out with the TikTok ban? Did it mess with you guys? Did
Oh
it
yeah,
hurt? Did it, like, because you guys were doing, I mean, I love that you're diversifying your marketing ecosystem, which is fantastic. But that was, I mean, that was your guys' kind of inflection point in a lot of ways, at least in the D2C world, where you became the leader, not even leader, the pioneer, the only kind of the most trusted oil pulling. Like oil pulling and GuruNanda were almost synonymous.
yeah. No, 100% right. TikTok, as you know, had such an impact on our business. So without it, obviously it's going to cause some sort of, keeping sleepless nights, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to, obviously, we had some faith that it wasn't going to be banned,
Go away.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But even if that does happen, because I think we maybe 60 days out before, they have to sell at least
Yeah.
50%. So
Yeah.
I think what we're focusing on is also exploring other avenues, right?
I love that.
Other social media platforms. And I mean, if you remember, right, the world is ever changing, right? I think there
Completely.
used to be a social app called Vine. Do you remember Vine?
Yeah, of course. Fine. Yeah. There's rumors that Elon's gonna bring it back.
Right. So
Yeah.
exactly, right? So that went away, and then MySpace, if you remember MySpace,
Yeah. I'm old. I know Tom,
right?
MySpace, the whole
Right.
thing. I had a MySpace page with music and little flames and the whole thing.
So I think we were very heavily invested in TikTok at one point, but slowly we're just spreading our eggs, right? Just
Yeah.
because, if something does happen, you never know, right? Something can
Yeah.
happen, and you
Yes.
have to prepare for the worst. But fingers crossed, it sticks around. I think it's not only important for us, but there was some stat that I was reading that there's over 170 million users, right, on
Yeah.
on TikTok in US, right, and I think it supports over 1 million small businesses.
Yeah. It's a real thing, man.
So a lot of people would be out of jobs, which is not something we need for the
Yeah.
US economy and so
Completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, one more question, and I'll get to the last question. You have any cool tennis stories? I mean, like, for people that don't know, even if you're not into tennis, go watch the documentary Andre. It is fantastic. It is basically going through his whole life, but the majority of is talking about being at that academy. Do you
yeah.
have any cool stories?
I mean, I had the obviously, my roommate being number one
Yeah,
in the world.
killer. That's
you know
incredible.
I had the opportunity. I stayed with him for a year, and so this is when I left IMG, and I went to another boarding school in Irvine called Advantage for tennis. But several years later, right, he was playing a challenger, which is one step below, like these big
The U.S. Opens or whatever. Yeah,
and so and at this time I was in college, so I obviously didn't make it as big as him. But you know I think what tennis does is, one, you make such lifelong friends,
oh, for sure.
right? And so he met me, I think, 6 years later, and then we were able to connect, right?
That's cool.
And that was kind of cool, and everyone was kind of surprised that, oh, how do you know now they're number two, so I always bring him up in stories. But then I have a lot of great college stories, for tennis,
Yeah,
where I was able to clinch matches, and
yeah.
and that allowed us to kind of get into the NCAA's, and
That's
so
awesome.
so those are like memories that those are fond memories for me.
I love it. What'd you serve? How fast could
How
you serve?
fast?
Yeah.
think I
Because
played.
that's a tennis thing, right?
Yeah,
Like that's kind of
yeah,
the like the bench press of the
correct,
gym.
correct. I think I was able to. The highest I cracked was 114.
Woo! Triple digits then. That's
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
That's
114.
fast. Could you return your buddy, sir?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
number two guy? Oh, you could.
Yes, yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
'Cause some of those guys like the
I think
I was a big
yeah,
I was a
hand-eye coordination gets so good. I mean, even if Novak was serving, Novak Djokovic,
you
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Alcaraz, maybe you could return Alcaraz. Oh
yeah,
wow, okay, that's amazing. He's a killer, man. That kid is on one. I was a big Rafa guy. I thought Rafa
oh,
was
yeah,
he
right,
was sensational, and he was just a really cool dude. Like he was
yeah,
just like a good human, like a good
right,
champion kind of
absolutely.
thing. But
A
did you
fighter.
have a preference on court?
I
Did
mean,
you
I
like
played
clay, grass,
on hard,
hard?
right?
Okay, you preferred hard.
I mean, that's probably 95% of what we played on was hard.
Yeah,
And obviously, I played a little bit on clay, so those were the two surfaces that
yeah.
yeah,
Clay and grass looked crazy. It
yeah.
looked really hard. It's a really hard. Oh my gosh, this is our listeners are going to love this. This is an incredible show. Dr. Nanda, how can people follow you? How can they buy some more Guru Nanda stuff and make their smile even better, make their bad breath go away? This time is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much. Guys, please, follow us at gurunanda.official. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. If you want to follow me, I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. One thing I'll leave you guys with is, prevention is the key to everything, right?
Yep.
And please don't be disencouraged if you don't see immediate results. um, it's possible you won't, but if you stick to it, in the long run it will happen. And even if you don't see results, it's happening, right? Something's happening in the back of it, and you just got to stick to it, and it will eventually make a difference. So please check us out at gurunanda.com. Right, we'd love for you to be our subscriber on email or SMS. And Rabah, thank you so much for having me. This
Of
has been
course.
awesome.
Oh, this is a great show. And I'm just kind of giggling in the back of my head that time's a flat circle where
Yeah,
Papa Bear said, "Hey, don't get into business." And
yeah.
then you go do all the hard work of MD residency, all the craziness, and it's like, "Hey, you want to come over here and do some business?" Like
I know.
life is so rich, man.
Right.
Life is so rich. Awesome. All right, folks, that's all we got for you. Thanks for tuning in. Go book a demo for mockcommerce.com. Go make my boss happy. Go make funnels like you make ads. And then be sure to subscribe to our newsletter curated by the indomitable Alexa Kilroy called The Geometry of Growth. You can subscribe right on our website for mockcommerce.com. Dr. Anish, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for being so flexible with all the scheduling and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. And if you're ever out in Austin, hit me up. And yeah, man, I really appreciate all the thoughtful, eloquent responses. And we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'll leave you guys with this. Be the guru of your wellness. Right.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And GuruNanda is such a, oh, I love that name. It's like stuck in my head. I've been saying around my apartment. I love it. All right, folks, that's all we got. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.